What's up, y'all? I yeah, I guess in some ways I just need a place to, I'm processing this in real time, and so, as is usual, I don't know if I have I don't know if there's a point other than to talk about what feels really true in my body and to move it out. But there's something in here for us, and I know that, and so I'm sharing it because there's something in here for us. I am trying to quiet my nervous system that is wildly activated. And I was like, what order do I want to tell this story in? And I'll go backwards, I suppose. So I went to pick up a rental car today, and as I was pulling out of the rental car facility, I noticed two young black men being pulled over by a police officer, and my instinct is to wait. My instinct is to stop and be a visual presence to the experience. And so I did. I pulled over, and it was one white police officer, and then it was, and I saw him questioning, asking the driver for his driver's license, and then I saw him asking the passenger for his license and ID. Shit that is like, I know is actually not, you're not required as there's no probable cause because I'm sitting in a car with someone for me to have to give you my ID, right? But he does, and then I'm watching, and then I see another officer pull up, a black man, and then he goes to the car, and then he's talking, and then they ask both the men to get out of the car, young men to get out of the car, and they do, and then they handcuff one of them and put him in the patrol car, and then, they eventually sit the other one on the curb, and they proceed to check their car and go through their car, and I'm still all just sitting in my driver's seat, parked, watching. And so they go through the car, and then I see three more plainclothes officers come up, and they're talking to the young man who's sitting on the curb, and the other guy I can't see anymore because he's now in the backseat of the patrol car. And these three plainclothes officers, and then another young black man comes around the corner, is walking up to the situation. I think maybe someone called him to help, I don't know what happens. And so he's there, and he's talking to the black police officer and the white police officer, and then before you know it, they're turning him around and handcuffing him, and he's like, what are you doing? I didn't do anything. So then I get out of the car, and I'm standing there because I see it about to escalate, and I'm like, hey, he's like, but I didn't do nothing. And I'm like, look, I believe you, and I want you to get out of this, okay? So just take a breath and just let it play out. And so he's now handcuffed. There's a black boy in the back of the patrol car handcuffed. There's a black boy sitting on the curb, and then there's another police officer who comes, looks like a Latinx female presenting person, and so now there are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cops, 3 or 4 patrol cars. I'm watching at this point. And I hear, the young man's like, I just, I didn't do nothing. I just got out of jail. I didn't do nothing. And so the officer takes his ID and goes and does something, the black officer, and then comes back and gives him back his ID. and lets him, and unhandcuffs him. And then the black officer comes up to me and he's like, it's funny, like, no one's engaged me up to this point, but now he's coming back up to me and he's asking me, he says, like, well, he has a warrant in Georgia, but I'm not going to arrest him today. But because of, apparently the courts don't know what they want to do with him, so I'm not arresting him. And I was like, okay. Long story short, this all ends with them writing these young men a ticket, taking the young guy who was driving, apparently had $6,000. They took the $6,000 and then sent them on their way. And I watched them search his car without a warrant. I watched them handcuff these young men. I watched, them, what absolutely felt like just a ridiculous display of, like, unnecessary emotional violence. And then send them away, drive away. Like, they drove off. So obviously they didn't have anything that evidenced a crime. They had a canine sniff and search the car, nothing. Check the trunk, nothing. Like, all of this, again, without a warrant. Just terrorized these 3 young black boys, took their money and then sent them on their way. And all I could say was, like, I'm glad y'all made it out alive. And, I tell you this story because, so I was in therapy today, and I was talking to my therapist about the difficulty that I have with, like, embodying really good things when they happen. Like the fact that my community is paying off my student loans, or like the fact that I, all kinds of amazing things happen and they're beautiful. And I have a difficult time letting them in. And that's been me historically. I've never been, like, I don't, like, to really embody when good things happen is very difficult for me. And I didn't. And so I was talking about it, like, like, what's wrong that I can't do that? And it's like, oh, right, like, there's this way in which you just don't trust life, right? And it's like, oh, right, and there's a way in which I can pathologize myself for not getting a lesson that I think I'm supposed to get. Like, Sonya, there's all this amazing stuff happening to you. How dare you not trust life? And I appreciate my therapist today for just being like, I want you to remember that it's a trauma response. And when she said that, I had this moment where I was like, right, yeah, like, I've had some traumatic experiences. And so, right, I would, there's a way in which it's difficult to trust life. And then I had this experience and I was like, every day in America is a trauma response for Black people. Every single day. It is incredibly difficult to trust life in this body, in this place. And I had this moment where I was like, well, who are these people who don't have trauma? And the truth of the matter is that, like, most of us have trauma. Like, many of us grew up and there may have been harm. But Black people are never rid of it. We never get the chance to heal from it because it is so fucking pervasive. It is so incessant and constant and hideous and visceral and never fucking ending. And it doesn't matter how much joy or like that, you know, I can leave that situation and say, thank God everybody's okay. Nobody's fucking okay. I'm not fucking okay. I just left a situation where the highlight of the day was that I didn't have to watch some black boy or 3 of them be murdered or potentially killed myself in the process. And that's what we call okay in America for black people. And how dare we? How dare we? I don't care if he sold all the crack in the world and that's where he got the $6,000. How fucking dare we expect anything other than what the fuck it is that black people have managed to fucking piece together out of this shithole? That all of us are running around with this level of fucking trauma in a lot less better circumstances than I am. And I'm still not okay. The time for debating with your parents is over. The time for gently coaxing your mildly racist, whoever the fuck is in your life, is to spit in the face of my trauma. To not decide which side you are on and actively work every single day to end this level of trauma for black people is the highest insult. This is untenable and it's unacceptable. And if we are not daily committed to working and shifting it, then we are 1,000,000,000% participating in its maintenance. And it cannot continue. Lucking up and not watching a black person be murdered or be murdered myself cannot be the definition of being okay. It's not okay.